Well, we finally made it. Today's free agency, and one thing appears to be certain for the LA Lakers, that they will likely be losing Dorian Finney-Smith. Following him opting out of his player option, therefore becoming an unrestricted free agent, he can sign with any team and for any contract that he wants to. And well, according to new reports from both Mark Stein and Dan Wilkie, the team that's likely going to pursue him the heaviest does appear to be the Houston Rockets. So now the question is, will he simply take a contract with him that they can outright offer? Or will it be through a sign and trade and potentially get the Lakers back assets in return for him? That's kind of the question here and the thing I'm really looking into the most. If the Lakers would go that route and kind of help the Rockets sign him and give him the contract that he wants, would they then be able to sign Deandre Ayton? I mean, after all, we don't know how much money he's looking for, and if they would get assets back in return and therefore salary back in return for Finney-Smith, they might not be able to stay under that first apron. Which, if you're not aware, you absolutely have to do if you use a non-taxpayer mid-level exception, aka the full mid-level exception, worth roughly $14.1 million next season, available to be offered up to a 4-year contract, which is what the Rockets might be offering to Finney-Smith here. But if they would in fact take back a return package for Dorian Finney-Smith via sign and trade, they might not be able to offer Deandre Ayton that salary or that contract amount, which might be what it takes to get him. So with that in mind here, would a return package for Dorian Finney-Smith be worth it via the Houston Rockets, which could potentially include a guy like Cam Whitmore and a backup center like Jock Landale? That's up for debate here and we'll talk about it. And well, beginning with the easiest scenario to talk about, that simply being that Finney-Smith leaves their team, either to the Rockets or I guess a different team, outright taking their contract and not doing a sign and trade with the Lakers. That means that he would simply leave their team and therefore open up the salary on their team to make an offer for a Deandre Ayton or a different player if they want to, having the full mid-level exception available to them, also potentially the biannual exception at that point if they want to go that route and if they really want to push that first apron line. That would be the simple route to go here. You know, the one that's kind of out of their hands here, and I'm not sure if they want that route to happen, but that would actually be the easy one and no other alternatives or no other players coming in or out with it. That's simply what it would be. Dorian Finney-Smith going out and maybe Deandre Ayton coming in. That's all that one would be. But then for the more complicated solution here, would they be able to do a sign and trade and still be able to get Deandre Ayton? Maybe. And well, if they would do a sign and trade with Dorian Finney-Smith, sending him to the Rockets, which does appear to be the highest likelihood here, that would be very intriguing to potentially get a Cam Whitmore and or a Jock Landale with him. I mean, those are either two good trade assets or two good rotation assets to have on their team. I mean, many Laker fans wanted them to draft Cam Whitmore 2 years ago when they passed him up to draft Jalen Hood-Schifino. Still a pretty funny one, but could they potentially circle back and get him now and add him to their team? It could be a possibility. Reports say that they're looking to trade Cam Whitmore no matter what, that being the Houston Rockets, so this could be a pathway for them to do it and get their guy in Dorian Finney-Smith. Now I'm not sure again the Lakers want to go that route. Do they want a good trade asset or potentially a good young asset, even if it means potentially losing Deandre Ayton? Not sure they do. And you know, let me preface that by saying it's not a guarantee they get Deandre Ayton. I know we kind of feel like it is at this point, and I would like to think it is too, but it's definitely not a guarantee. Reports say that he simply wants to play for a quote-unquote winning situation, and the Lakers are definitely not the only team in that category, if you even want to put them in that category, which I definitely would after attaining the 3rd seed last season, and still having both Luka Doncic and LeBron under contract. But regardless, not a guarantee to sign him. Either he would take a contract with their team, but it's not a guarantee even if they do let Dorian Finney-Smith walk, or simply walks regardless of what they offer him. So with that in mind here, taking a sign and trade package might not be a bad idea, especially if they feel like Deandre Ayton might not sign with their team or if it's not a guarantee for them, then they maybe should think about taking a sign and trade package for Dorian Finney-Smith. Like I said, getting Cam Whitmore, which they could either keep or then maybe trade again for a first-round draft pick, giving them another trade asset for potentially a Walker Kessler or some other center trade down the road, then a backup center in Jock Landale. That wouldn't be a bad kind of route for them to go with here. And even if they would do that, the alternative route to then that one would be doing the sign and trade with Dorian Finney-Smith and getting back either Cam Whitmore and or Jock Landale, maybe some other trade package, and still being able to potentially sign Deandre Ayton. Wouldn't be for the full mid-level exception at that point, it would be for the taxpayer mid-level exception, which is roughly a third of the full mid-level, only being worth roughly $5.7 million next season compared to $14.1. So again, definitely not as much money, but then again, Deandre Ayton is getting paid next season regardless. Not sure how much money he took less in the contract buyout, but he will be getting paid regardless. Whether it's the full $35 million salary or simply around $30 million, he will be getting paid quite a bit by the Portland Trail Blazers, despite not playing for them next season. So if he would be willing to take a taxpayer mid-level exception for them, then coming in to be their starting center and getting to play with Luka Doncic, who theoretically would make him look better on the court, I don't think that would be a bad option for them, but it might not be the most likely option for them, unfortunately. And going back to the contract, or rather potential contract that the Rockets might offer Finney-Smith, I think it would have to come via sign and trade, as the full mid-level exception is actually less than what he could have gotten via his player option with the LA Lakers. I mean, the full mid-level exception is not a bad offer for him, but being worth roughly $14.1 million is less than the player option that he could have taken at roughly $15.3. So barring them offering him the full mid-level exception, not only for next season, but over the entire 4-year contract duration they could offer it, I think it's probably more likely that he wants to sign and trade with them, which again would give the Lakers back assets in return. And in my opinion, I think they probably should go that route. Again, it might decrease their odds of getting Deandre Ayton, maybe not by that much, but I mean, if they don't get Deandre Ayton and they lose Dorian Finney-Smith for nothing, that would be an absolutely terrible outcome for them. So at the bare minimum here, gotta get at least something back in return for Finney-Smith if it's not a guarantee that Ayton will be signing with their team. Now again, if they somehow know it's a guarantee, if they've been talking in the background or simply from agent to agent, kind of hinting at it that way, then I guess go that route and simply let Finney-Smith walk. But with the obvious risk there with that, losing him for nothing, then not having a backup center option, let alone a starting center option, I wouldn't mind getting back assets in return for Finney-Smith, talking about guys like Cam Whitmore, a guy that again could either be a piece of their future or a trade piece, and then Jock Landale, who could be a backup center for them, is a decent defender, decent rim protector, solid rebounder, and can even knock down the occasional 3-point shot. I wouldn't hate that for them, and again, it's much better than the alternative of getting absolutely nothing here. I mean, I would absolutely love to say that they can get the Cam Whitmore and Jock Landale trade package via the sign and trade for Dorian Finney-Smith, and then be able to add Deandre Ayton onto that with the taxpayer mid-level exception, but it's simply so far from a guarantee that I'm not sure I'm willing to risk it. That would be the dream scenario here, but definitely not the most likely option. I think I would rather take the more secure option, with getting at least some assets back in return for Finney-Smith. I mean, we can't even entirely rule it out that he will leave their team. Does appear to be the likely option here in the most likely scenario, but if that does happen, they at least gotta get something back in return for him. I mean, can you imagine what the fanbase and how we would react if they lose Dorian Finney-Smith, don't make a sign and trade for him, and then don't get Deandre Ayton on top of all that? That would be an absolute nightmare. At that point, then we'd be looking at signing simply maybe a guy like Brook Lopez or Clint Capella, maybe a cheaper wing option on the open market, and that would be their free agency, which would obviously not be good. So in my opinion, I'm definitely taking a package of Cam Whitmore with or without Jock Landale with him in return for Dorian Finney-Smith, even if that might affect their odds of Deandre Ayton, which is not a guarantee to begin with. I mean, even if they would go that route, then they could get Cam Whitmore, trade him again for a first-round draft pick, and potentially kind of simply salary dump him for that first-round draft pick, then still be able to have their full mid-level exception to be able to offer Deandre Ayton. So no matter what here, I think the best option is taking a sign and trade package for Dorian Finney-Smith, then trying to do whatever they can after that point to sign Deandre Ayton. Whether that's simply offering him the taxpayer mid-level exception, trading whatever trade package they got from the Dorian Finney-Smith trade, kind of salary dumping that and turning it into draft capital, then being able to offer him the full mid-level, I'd rather go that route than simply not get anything for Dorian Finney-Smith and not having a guarantee of getting Deandre Ayton. But with all of that being said, what do you guys think? How do you feel about the Lakers likely losing Dorian Finney-Smith, and what route would you try to take with it? Would it be simply letting him walk and then being able to have the full mid-level exception, or would it be trying to make a sign and trade with the Rockets, getting back a trade package of maybe Cam Whitmore, maybe Jock Landale with him, which might jeopardize their odds of Deandre Ayton a little bit, but go that route and then still try to get Deandre Ayton after that point? Let me know your thoughts and what you would do here in the comments down below. But I think that'll pretty much do it for this one. And if you enjoyed the video, then I'll greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day or night. Well, we finally made it. Today's free agency, and one thing appears to be certain for the LA Lakers, that they will likely be losing during Finney-Smith.